Hey friends, and welcome to the Soulfire Sessions at the intersection of passion and purpose, where you align with what sets your soul on fire. We're your hosts, Alex and Mariah, and we are so grateful that you're here with us today. We are all about reclaiming clarity, rebuilding confidence, and designing a future that fits you. So take a breath, feel the spark, and let's step into the fire. Hey, Mariah.
Hey girl, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I am so good. I loved your grateful word. That was like recentering for me. There's so much to be grateful for. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I am so excited about our episode today, Alex. Like, so excited because I have been talking to my friends. I've been watching the news. I've been watching social media. And there is something that is kind of a message throughout, and that is that change is inevitable, right?
Yeah.
And I've got so many friends, so many people that I care about, my family members, etc., that are experiencing this pivot in their life right now. And they're at this pivotal point where some are being laid off, some are saying, hey, I've been working in this job for decades and I'm not sure that this is the right thing for my future. I mean, Alex, you've talked about your transition from higher ed to this business enterprise, like entrepreneurship world, that's different. And you're not the only one. There's lots and lots of people that are doing this.
Absolutely.
And there's stay-at-home moms that are going back to work, or people that are shifting completely or wanting to get promoted or just change. And in thinking about that, it really grounded me in gratitude for the fact that we have this amazing arm at Soulfire where we coach people.
Absolutely.
And you and I were talking about like what is coaching and who needs coaching and what does it mean to be a coach. And so when we were talking about it, I was like, let's put this on our podcast and let's bring in Cristina and have a conversation, because our listeners are likely experiencing this either themselves or with somebody in their family, this pivot or this change. And if they're not right now, they will, right? Because everything changes. And so excited to bring Cristina in today, who works with us at Soulfire, who is an amazing coach, has so much experience in the coaching arm. She's also worked in corporate. She's a licensed pharmacist. She's a jack of all trades, as I like to say. So she does so many things, wears so many hats, and is a really capable coach. So wanted to just explore the conversation today and kick us off, because I know, Alex, that's a hat that you're wearing at Soulfire as well.
Yeah.
To talk about what that means, to talk about what it means to be a coach. So I'll just throw it out there to both of you, because you may have completely different answers, and, toss the ball over to say, what is a coach? What is coaching to you?
Well, first, let's say hi, Cristina. Welcome.
Okay, girl.
Hey,
thank you
both for having me.
We got excited.
I definitely get excited. I get so excited.
Thanks, Cristina, for joining us. And I'll go ahead and let you answer that question first.
Yeah, so I loved what you said, Mariah, about how people are experiencing a pivot. The neatest thing to me that I've seen recently is that it's not only something that's happening to people, but something that people are choosing. So they are feeling a pull and they're saying, what I'm doing is just not aligned with who I am or my values or the legacy that I want to leave in this world. And so that, to me, I'm literally getting goosebumps. Like, that gives me goosebumps, that people are feeling themselves in a new way and saying, how do I want to show up intentionally, and what is the legacy I want to leave? And coaching is such an interesting tool and a very capable tool to help propel that goal forward. So I love that we're having this conversation today. So coaching, to me, it is a partnership, 100%. It's client-led. So one of the things that I always tell people that I work with is, it doesn't really matter what I believe or what my goals are, we're here for you. And so coaching creates this safe space for people to do the exploration, to be true to themselves, to be super honest with themselves about what they value and if they're living that out in a way that's meaningful to them. And we do this through asking super powerful questions. I like to say that I am always one question away from getting fired. So another thing that I say about coaching is it is very uncomfortable. And that's good, right? It gets us out of our comfort zone into this newness. Because if we don't get uncomfortable, we're just going to stay where we are. So those are probably just the headlines, I would say. There's so much more to coaching, how it happens. I know people get a little bit confused about what happens in a coaching session, but truly it is getting clarity on their passion, on their goals, and then just really providing them accountability with themselves or with others in their lives to just take those steps in a non-judgmental space, just a free space. Alex, what are you is that close to what you would say?
It is. I think for me, coaching sort of gives you permission to exit the box that you're living in and color outside the lines and drive in someone else's lane and all the analogies, right? It allows you to look beyond what you usually look at. I was in this little higher ed box, and that was my future, and that was my goal, and all these things. And when I went to Mariah, she was like, why not do all these other things? Why not look at this? Why not try this? And I'm like, what? That's an option for me? And so she sort of gave me permission to step outside my box and look at all these other options and start figuring out ways to go towards those goals. So I think it's really important that you have somebody in your life that, one, gives you permission, because it's not that we need it, but sometimes we forget, and two, can guide you through that by asking those really important and hard questions. But also I think it's important that you have somebody who, like you said, Cristina, gives you a safe space to do that. I know we have friends and spouses and people in our lives that we like to get feedback from, but sometimes we need somebody who doesn't really have any buy-in. You are just there to ask the questions and guide people and provide that psychologically safe space to try all the things that you have interest in trying.
I love that you said that, Alex. I was thinking about this when you were talking and how a third-party perspective, somebody that's not in your day-to-day life looks at things differently. They're not tied to your financial well-being, your day-to-day processes, those type of things, and can give a unique perspective. So I love that, and I love early on you said, I hope that you have somebody in your life that can do this for you, and I think that's important. But if it's not a coach, you sometimes lack that person without bias, that person that's already not connected to you, because friends or family members have opinions based on your relationship and your experience. So I love that you said both things, because I think both are important. Cristina, I really liked what you said too, in that a coach and a coaching session helps the client with clarity and then developing an action plan. And it's not that the coach is giving an action plan, it's that the client is coming up with an action plan, and then the coach is providing accountability. And I think today the word accountability is scary, but accountability is really support, right? It's really just a cheerleader. It is bumpers on the bowling lane to keep the ball in the middle, like those type of things. And so I loved what both of you said and the way that you both framed it uniquely from your personalities. Is there anything, Cristina, that you would add after hearing what Alex said, or any reaction based on that?
Yeah, so two things are coming up for me. One, something Alex said about your conversation with her and how you gave her the opportunity to consider something new. And I've heard you ask this or actually state this on many occasions, which is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And so that is a great question of, hey, yes, I can do this. And I don't like the word should. I like to say we need to stop shoulding all over ourselves. And so not necessarily should, but the question is yes, you can do that. Is that something that's aligned? Is that something you want to do? Is that where your passion lies? And so that came up for me. And then also, Mariah, one of the things you said about accountability, we help clients develop their own accountability plan. So yes, they know they're going to come have a conversation with me in a couple of weeks or next week. And I'm going to say, okay, well, where are we today? And it's not really my job to say, well, you said you were going to do X. My job is really to hold up a mirror and say, hey, last time, what did we say your priorities are? Have those priorities shifted? If yes, okay. And if not, okay. So we still have the same priorities. What got in our way? And a lot of times in coaching, when we're developing an accountability plan, we actually try to talk about things that could get in our way, that would prevent us from executing this plan that we've laid out. Because a lot of times in a coaching space, we're like, oh, we can do this and we can do that, and then life happens. And so we try to even prepare for that before we leave the session. And so it's an accountability in a way of saying, yes, this is what I said I was going to do. These are the things I got done or the progress I made. Here's what went wrong. And then here's how we pivot to say, okay, now we're here, and how do we go forward? And so absolutely love that journey for clients. It's very interesting when you start working with clients how they'll tell you what their priorities are. And some clients, it only takes one follow-up session for them to say, I know I said this was my priority, but it's not. And then sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to go, well, maybe this is actually a priority because I keep doing that. And so that progression in a client's life is really exciting.
That's awesome. A couple of things sparked for me, Cristina, in your clarity piece when you were talking about the role of a coach and the clarity that comes out in that is that oftentimes I meet with people and they tell me what their goal is, and they're like, I hired you to help me with X. And then we start talking and it's actually not the problem at all. I met with a gentleman this morning actually, and he was telling me that he needed help with influence. And he said, I need to get promoted so that I can have more influence. And that's why he wanted a coach. And so we started talking some more and recognizing that influence actually doesn't come from title where he works. It comes from trust, credibility, relationships, and period, right? Like knowing what you're talking about, having value add, etc. And once we reframed the problem that he was trying to solve, we were able to create a plan. But I think even for ourselves, we get distracted or we get influenced by something, so we start running in a direction, and it's not until someone says, hang on a second, what are you running after? Or like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? And you realize, oh my God, I'm not even going in the right way. Like I'm not even solving the right problem. Which is again why, Alex, to your point, having that third party, that unbiased, like, I don't know this person, to ask the questions, which drives the clarity, Cristina, that you've been talking about. So we make sure that we're solving the right problem together. So everything you're saying is just like, yes, yes, yes. So we know that most of our listeners, if not all, have either felt this pull to want to try something new or to challenge themselves or to think outside the box, or have been put in a position where it's not their choice and now they have to consider something new and, look outside of the box. And so I'm curious, who do you guys think needs coaching? Like, who is the person that should be dialed in to a coach?
So first and foremost, it's important to understand one of the things that coaching is not when we talk about who needs coaching. So coaching is not counseling. And so the first thing that is a requirement for someone who needs coaching or who would benefit from coaching is someone who is already stable. So in coaching, we look forward, right? So we're on stable ground looking forward. If you have past trauma, mental health issues, or healing that you need to do from past, that is counseling. That is not what coaching is. So someone who, it's not to say that if you've had those things, you couldn't benefit from coaching at some point, but you have done some of the work with a counselor, with a licensed therapist to get yourself to a place where you are stable and able to look forward, right? That you've healed. And then anyone who, kind of like what we talked about, is feeling a pull, it could be to shift a career. It could be, I have this goal and I'm not making any progress. Why do I keep getting distracted? So if you are seeking clarity, if you know you want to do something else and you don't know how to get there, if you don't know the next right step, that's where a coach comes in. And not because we're going to tell you, because we're also not consultants. It's not about what I know, what Mariah knows, what Alex knows. And we know a lot of stuff. Alex and Mariah and I are all very successful in our own fields, but it's not about us telling you what to do or how to fix your life or your business. It's about us giving you the space for you to decide that on your own and get that clarity. So definitely someone who's stable, who feels stuck, who feels fearful or maybe just feels a little bit lost, I think are definitely characteristics of someone who would benefit from coaching. Alex, what would you add?
Can I interject just real quick? Tell me what stable means.
Yeah, so you're not actively in the middle of trauma. You're not
Great.
actively in the middle of big life changes. And I mean more from like a personal side. So you're not probably going through a divorce, or you're probably not, recovering from a miscarriage or some big life events. You're probably not in a place that you can process the moving forward. Now, that's not true for all people. If you are in counseling and you're working on that with a counselor, absolutely coaching can coexist. And I would highly suggest that you speak with your counselor to make sure that you're in a place that you can do this, because the last thing that we want is for you to go after something in coaching and it be a setback on your mental health and your physical healing. Is definitely kind of where we're at with it, right? You're not spiraling, you're able to focus, you're able to set a goal, and you're able to kind of make traction on that.
So I love that you said that. Thanks for letting me ask for clarification. One thing that I talk about a lot is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. With Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's a triangle, a pyramid, and at the very bottom, there's physiological needs, which is like shelter, food, etc. And then there's safety, and then there's love and belonging, and then there's esteem, and the very top is called self-actualization. And so the way that I think about it, for me, it's like that space between esteem and self-actualization. Like once you have physiological taken care of, you have safety taken care of, you feel loved and like you belong somewhere, and you have that self-esteem, then it's like, okay, how do we get to our best self? Which is how I translate that self-actualization. And that's the sweet spot, right? And when I ask what is stable, it's because we all have highs and lows, right? Like we all have bad days, good days, etc. But that's different than not having food to eat or shelter, or feeling unsafe, those type of things. So thank you, Alex.
Yep, great clarification. Alex, before you go, I would say Mariah said in between, once you have self-esteem, and I would say even if you're looking for self-esteem, you could go down a step probably, because the status self-esteem part could definitely, we can work with that in coaching. So as long as you've got that psychological, physical safety, and then
yes,
I think at that point it's kind of up to you to decide when you're ready to go launch into the rest.
I agree with that too, and that's what I was going to say as well. I think I was struggling with the esteem part when I went to Mariah first, and I think my first session was crying. I mean, I was at a point where I was like, let me get all these feelings out and deal with this, but it wasn't a therapy type of crying. You know what I'm saying? It was I just need somebody to give me permission. That's really where I was at. I didn't know that is what I needed, but looking back, that's what I needed. I needed somebody who was not in my day-to-day to tell me it was okay to do something different or new. And so I agree with everything you said, Cristina. I think that, again, we are not therapy. We are a point in somebody's life where they need help going forward. So, and I want to clarify too, because this keeps popping up with me and people who ask me this question, does it have to be career focused? And it does not. If you are great in your career and you love your job, but you really want to write a book, or you really want to have a song on Spotify this year, or you have these passion projects that you want to do, but you're not really sure how to do it or what to do, or you just need somebody to help you work through it, that's also another really great reason to have coaching.
Or if you're obsessed with your job and you work all the time and you need to set better boundaries.
Yes, absolutely. And relationship issues, right? So sometimes you might have an issue with a manager, a peer, or someone in your family, my mother-in-law, my stepdaughter, my husband, my best friend. And to Mariah's and Alex's point earlier, to have someone who just can hold that space with an open hand and not be tied to the outcome. There's no one in your life except for a coach or a counselor, right, who can listen to that situation, and it doesn't really matter to them, meaning it doesn't impact me. how that outcome is, as long as it's good for you. And so just asking you, well, what would that look like? How do you want that person to feel? If you could wave a magic wand and this was over, what would it look like? Like those types of questions to allow you that space to dream. And to Alex's point about emotion, yes, I am not saying that coaching is not emotional. It absolutely is, because it is not cheerleading. It absolutely can be encouraging, and that definitely happens. Hey, I'm so proud that you stayed true to your values. Hey, I'm really proud that you acted in alignment with what you defined as your values last time. Those types of things. But it's definitely much deeper than that, and it can be, like I said, it's uncomfortable, and that can come out in a lot of different ways. And a coach is not going to judge you. They're probably going to sit in silence and let you just feel the feelings and tell you that all the feelings are meant to be felt, and then say, now what? And you truly lead it with some questions that guide you from a coach. So absolutely very emotional and very deep connection, which is one of my favorite things about coaching.
One of the things for me with my coach is I often hear her voice in my head. Her name is Catherine, and she's probably listening and giggling right now, but she lives in New York, and she has a very distinct voice. And I hear her when I am making a choice, or I am in stress behavior, or if I am frustrated about something. I hear her voice, and I get very irritated. Honestly, I'm like, damn it, Catherine, go away. Like, I hear her in my voice. But it's metacognition, right? It causes us to think about our thinking, which is the whole goal. And so whatever it is, that's stopping you in your tracks from your usual behavior, and causing you to stop a second, reassess, that's great. That's progress. I can't say enough about coaching. I think it has changed my life, and that's why I want to give it to the world. I want to make it accessible to people, because if I wouldn't have had people who invested in me and who coached in me and didn't do things for me but taught me how to fish, asked me the questions and gave me a safe place to dream, Soulfire wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be here. I love what you guys are doing. I'm just curious, how do you see making this coaching arm accessible for people, transforming our communities? How are people going to show up after they've worked with a coach? What is it going to do for them? How does that change the collective? How does that change the world?
So here's the thing. When you're working on a team, let's just use this, or you're in a family, we're all better when we're each individually doing our part to the best of our ability. So if there's something, if the three of us are in a family or on a team, and I'm not showing up as my best version of myself, then the team is only as good as what I'm giving. So you two could be working your butts off and be giving 100%, and I'm not, right? And so you're having to pick up my slack. And I know I use that as a work example, but once I've had coaching, I am, to Mariah's point, coaching provides you this self-awareness that is just so impactful, right? I understand what I look like when I'm in stress and how I respond. I understand how I show up when I'm healthy. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to get stressed or that I'm not going to go to a stressed state. It means that I'm going to be able to recognize it more quickly and act in a more appropriate way, which is going to have better outcomes on my team and on my family and whoever I interact with. So for me, to put it in Soulfire language, I feel like when we ignite the spark within every single person, the fire just burns warmer. We all feel its warmth, right? So if we're individually burning brighter and being our best selves, then we all get warmer every day, every single day. So whether that's the tone of a conversation or a text or an email, or if it is pausing to respond before we respond with our children or with our, managers or whomever else is in our life, our best friend, we're better versions of ourselves because we know who we are and we're okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Alex, I was thinking about you, actually. Like the other day, we were talking about that some of the services that you provide in coaching, not limited to this, but an area where you've been really focusing is helping people with their resumes and helping people with their cover letters and almost like rebranding themselves and helping as a third party to say, hey, you're not shining a bright enough light on this about you, or you have this unique opportunity here to position yourself in this way. And the other day you and I were talking about this, and I was just sitting with that for a moment and thinking about the doors that resume, that cover letter, the repositioning, the rebranding of oneself, like what that does for someone in terms of confidence, how many doors that opens that maybe wouldn't have opened for them otherwise. And for me, I'm thinking about the time in my life when I was a single mom, and someone who's actually on our Soulfire board helped me redo my resume. And she usually charged people for it a lot. And she helped me, and I was in the running for a job that I don't think I ever would have been considered for otherwise. I had the skills, I just didn't know how to say it. And then it changed the trajectory of my life. And as a coach, like Alex, what you're doing with that subset of how you're coaching and things like that, you're unlocking doors that could mean the difference in being able to provide for their family, you know, or being able to make considerably more income, or changing how they look at themselves or how they value their skills. And I'll tell you, as a single mom, after I got this promotion from my resume rebranding, one of the key moments in my life, my now 17-year-old child was like 8 years old, and she had a play date. We were driving into our garage, and I was a single mom, and this young lady that was coming over for a play date, we pull in, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Maddie, what does your dad do?" When she looked at our house. And she said, "This isn't my dad. This is my mom. She did this by herself. You don't need a man." And it was that moment that I was like, I've arrived. Like, I am successful. Like, everyone defines their own success, and I am successful. You know, like, was my house anything to this young girl? It was amazing. To other people, it was an average house. But it was something that I was proud of, and it was something that my child recognized that she could achieve and didn't need anyone else. And it all started with the resume and repositioning myself in the workforce. And so I want to give you a second, but I also know your personality. I also know that you are extremely humble. And I hadn't said out loud like what I was feeling and thinking about just the personal application of what you're doing and how those skills and the services you're providing have personally changed my life. And I know that they're changing other people's lives as well. And when you do that, just the ripple effects of what that's done for my child, you know, how she looks at the world, how she values relationships, how she values herself, the role model that I've been able to be for her to say, I can do this. I will get married when I find the right person and when, you know, it makes sense in my life, but I don't have to get married to achieve my goals. Completely different perspective than what I was raised with, you know, all because somebody who helped rebrand my resume.
I appreciate you saying that. I do. And I think that's what coaching is in general, though, right? Like, whether it is a resume service, whether it is a pivot to a new role, whatever it is, a passion project, whatever it is, having that person unlock within you the things that you can do that you never knew that you could do until somebody literally just asks a question that turns the key, flips the light on, whatever that moment is for you. That's what coaching is for me. And I think you said something, and I was going to say this too after Cristina. The ripple effect is what I envision, and what you termed, Cristina, as our fire, which I love. For me, it's like a pay it forward moment as well. Like, either your life was changed in a way where now you feel your best self and you can go help somebody else, or you're like, hey, I met with this person and you need to meet with this person too. I will help you do this because it changed my life so much that you now need to do this thing. And so that to me is like that ripple effect, right? You're paying it forward in some way or form because you experienced what sets your soul on fire, you now want other people to experience what sets their soul on fire.
I love that. I have goosebumps. Like, I love this episode. It's amazing. And I hope that our listeners are feeling the same thing. And I know, Alex, you have questions that you like to ask in every episode, and I'm hoping that you're going to ask them here.
Yeah. And so that was kind of where I was going with what sets your soul on fire, right? Because that's where we're going right into it. So, Cristina, I'm sure you know this already, but every episode we ask the guests 2 questions. And the first question is, what sets your soul on fire?
Yep, helping others. So helping people rediscover who they are, what lights them on fire. That is a reason that I get up in the morning. And helping others, I am always looking for an opportunity to help, whether that's to hold a door or to help someone see something about themselves or solve a problem. I love to problem solve, although I don't really get to do that in coaching, but I do love to problem solve. I do that in other areas of my life. But absolutely helping people rediscover what sets their soul on fire and helping them break free from the shoulds of life, right? Helping them to stop judging their values and who they are, and helping them to just say, this is who I am, and love themselves, and then to move forward in a more aligned way that it's truly freeing. And you spoke to it earlier, Alex, but I live for that aha moment. Every coaching session where the client says, and the key phrase is, that's a great question. When they say that's a great question, you know you've made it. And so absolutely just watching people live authentically and powerfully within themselves and then having an impact on others. So that's what sets my soul on fire.
I love that. I do. That's amazing. And what I think is great is almost every person we ask that question to, their response is some form of helping others, which I just put together in my brain, that's amazing. Okay.
I love those comments.
It's exactly this is why Soul Fire exists, right? We are here to help other people. And so I love it. The second question is, if you could give advice to somebody, this is an actual coaching moment.
I know.
What? Okay. If you could give advice to someone who is trying to figure out what sets their soul on fire, what advice would you give? But rather, if you're having a coaching moment, is there a question you would ask?
There's 2 things. The first thing that wants to come out of my mouth is hire a coach. That's my piece of advice, is hire a coach. So my question would be, what's stopping you from hiring a coach, right? That would be my question to them. Where are we at with coaching? When are you signing up? But as far as, going after what sets your soul on fire, it would be don't stop. The only way you're a failure is if you quit. If you don't quit, you have to succeed. And so I think I would just say, don't stop. What would you do if you could not fail?
I love that question. That was a question that I was asked in college, and it sparked a lot of interest of things for me. So thank you. Well, we are nearing the end of our time together. So, Mariah, would you like to give our website? Where can people find us?
TheSoulFire.com is our new, improved, updated website, and they can get in contact with us. They can also click on the thing that says Fuel Your Fire, and you can get added to our email list for specials and discounts and newsletters and all the things. And we would love for you to click on that. And also, you'll have show notes, I'm sure, that will include where they can find us. And Cristina can be found there, Alex can be found there, I can be found there, and we've got an email address and all the things. We are all official these days. How far we've come. And so they can contact us there.
We also have a new coaches part of the website, so that's where you can go if you need coaching. After this episode, you're yes, count me in, I want it. Click on the button, find your person, do all the things. And then you can find us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. We are the Soulfire Co. on Instagram, and you can find us at the Soulfire Collective on Facebook and LinkedIn. And this episode will air on all your favorite podcast hosting sites. So all that will be in the show notes. Cristina, thank you so much for joining us.
I'll tell you thank you this time, since I didn't say welcome because I was so excited to get started. So thank you so much. This was amazing. Like every time I'm like, this is my favorite episode so far. So it just keeps getting better. But thank you for being a part of this. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cristina. And listeners, we will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.